pretty mediocre blue-white approach list, to be honest. This sideboard's pretty miserable, and I'm not confident with all the decisions main deck. We're just trying a few things. We're trying a couple disallows. We've cut the farming markets. We shaved one search, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. We still have the 7 rafts, even though I feel like going down to 6 might be okay, and we're trying a couple illuminations. I have no idea what to do with the sideboard right now. Yeah, I'm like completely lost, but red's just not been winnable, which is why I'm super overloaded on the red cards. Feeling like we can probably cut down to a 25th land as well, but this deck was actually league locked. I accidentally loaded the wrong deck when I was showing my cousin who used to play Magic. I was showing him the deck, or well, what Magic is now. And I accidentally loaded this deck, so have to actually finish the league out with it before we can approach a different list. But it's fine. It's probably like 71 of the 75 cards I would like to play at the moment. Maybe 70. But I actually don't think this deck's super well positioned at the moment, and I'd kind of like to be playing the Drakehaven deck instead, but probably there's only going to be 4 rounds today. I accidentally thought I had turned on the stream earlier when I was showing my cousin the deck, and I did not. I loaded everything up, got our nice little bars here, did everything but click play on OBS, and sit here and sounded like an idiot while I was talking to you guys with nobody able to hear me. It's kind of embarrassing. Alright, anyway, we're going to snap this off. I'm not mulliganing any hand with this versus a blind opponent. Obviously, a hand like this is very bad versus like a red deck wins or whatever, but versus a blind opponent, I think this is fine. If it's teamer or anything like that, we have all the turns in the world to draw search. If it's a mirror match or other type of control deck, the search is so powerful that it's fine. We already have the approach in our hand, and we have a bunch of lands. So basically, versus everything but like the super aggro decks, this hand is super fine. And we're gonna aggressively put cards in our graveyard versus most control decks, even reasonable cards, because it's pretty important. I didn't need to show him Rivulet there. That was probably a minor mistake. So he has got a tune in his own search now, which means we'll probably main phase our own Glimmer. Yes, to the graveyard you go. Don't actually know what he's playing yet, but we don't want to give this the opportunity to get counterspelled. Don't think I really want either of those versus any control decks. That's kind of what we want. It's sometimes easy to resolve the second one because when you just have 2 randomly in your hand because they're often not thinking about it. Already starting to drop frames today. I don't know why. Supreme Will, sure. Like I said, just actively putting cards in the graveyard because Search for Azcanta is that powerful. Answers to his search are some of the only, and like Glimmers are probably the only cards I would keep. I keep like Field of Rune, probably Cast Out. So this puts a 5th card in our graveyard. If we'd hit any Cycler, we would have got to flip the dude. We did not hit our Cycler. And still try to backdoor into it like this. We get to flip the dude. We get to flip the dude either way. I'm saying we get to flip the dude without having to put a potentially good card in the graveyard. It was a bad card, so it's kind of irrelevant. Go ahead and pop the first one of these off before you can Gear Hulk, which is always nice. Fortunately, where we're playing a lot fewer approaches than normal in this build. We only have the 3. Makes it a lot harder for us to resolve the second one. Could get lucky and he could just like slam Scarab Gun and be like, I'm gonna get you, but he can probably just wait us out and use a plethora of disallows to get us. There's some chance that if he had a Scarab God, he'd play it though, just because the Torrential Gearhulk's already in his graveyard and like he gets a lot of value. Doesn't have to worry about a sensor or anything if he does it that turn. We have a Field of Ruin to keep our search online, which is nice. It's kind of interesting that he'd flip it there. He may have another in his hand. Thank you for the auto host, Mr. Eric. Sorry that I've missed your stream a lot lately. I know you're in bed or whatever, you can't even hear me, but really enjoy a stream. I'm sad that I've missed it a lot lately. So we'll go ahead and get us an island. Take a sensor. Any order on the other 2? So we technically shuffled away one of our approaches, but we're not that worried about that. It's like not something that's really on our mind at this point in the game. The Rivulets are technically the kill condition that I'm going to try to win with. The approaches are just backup. Summonings, you say? Yeah, well, I guess we'll look for a counterspell then. Not going to be able to get him with that. Like, we're not going to be able to mill him with that card. It's just too powerful. We have all of our Rivulets now. We have our own disallow, so what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and disallow mana, so we're just going to go for it. A lot of these builds of the approach decks don't have disallow and stuff in the main, but we have a couple, so they were really, really useful that game. Yeah, so sideboarding versus them. Going to bring in the negates, and whether we bring in the cats or not is entirely based on whether we think they have lost a legacy or not. Gideon's not particularly great in this match. Effer Meltdown is also not particularly great in this match. I'll probably at least bring in one cat, but like one cat seems kind of bad. Probably going to bring in all the cats in this particular build. And maybe just 3. Hedge and go for 2. Because of the search for Azcanta and the Field of Runes, like, I feel like we can win most games. It's all about the Field of Rune and the search. I think they're the only cards that really matter. Obviously, other cards matter if you don't draw any of those, but like, say one person gets one of those out and the other person doesn't, I think they just win. So, goodbye, our friend. We will miss you. Don't actually think Duress is a good card for the blue-black control decks. I think you can draw it in late game situation. I think any time that you're trying to go super late, that a more narrow discard spell's not wonderful. If it was Fault Seas, that'd be another story, but... And as stated beforehand, I think this and the things that kill this are all that matters. So he got one of these on turn 2. We can't even minimum try to get rid of it until at least turn 4, and the damage will be done. So we're a significant underdog in this game already. Kind of far enough behind that I want to counterspell that, but I feel like I can't. One reason that I kind of want to counterspell is like if he just draws a Duress, I'm kind of SOL. I can't really do anything. And see, this is one of the reasons I kind of wanted to go ahead and counterspell it last turn. Even though counterspelling to draw spells are generally pretty bad. So we'll just take a land, let him get one of these other things. We're super far behind it now. So everything on the other side of Fumigate. This cards that he saw. We don't have Gideon in our deck. We could have farmlanded and tried to get our own search for Azcanta, but there's only 2 in the deck, and I would rather try to farmland and hit like a counterspell or something for that. Rip. And that's practically game. Maybe his hand's bad enough that we can get an approach win. But I doubt it. We do have the second negate though, which is pretty nice. Or the first negate. Wow, they're playing Field of Ruin as well. So they can shuffle away our approach. Literally just casting the approach here. Our kill condition is going to like us getting lucky and winning some kind of random counterspell war. It's getting very lucky. Not just lucky, very lucky. This happened before though. We could just like untap and draw approach and he'll not have it or something. It'll be the first time that's ever happened. The second super powerful enchantment. Sure. Not actually sure which of those cards is more powerful at this point. Probably the blood. The other one lets him get what he wants, but it requires 4 mana, so Cliff Confiscation Coup in his deck? That's interesting. I proceed to probably do my best to not show him a cat this game. Second negate's actually fairly good. We down to this before we draw the approach back, so kind of have to fight over it even though we don't want to. And unfortunately, he gets it back. Could have went with the, tried to cast out it and just let him have both of his super powerful enchantments, but we're not actually going to beat the super powerful enchantments. I mean, we're not going to beat anything at this point. Could have negated it, but don't actually have it out now. Maybe there's some world where he lets us cast that out. Oh, there's a negate. Let's say that world's gone. And we're going to die next turn. There's just no chance that we're not. He even has a negate in his hand, so he'll try to cast out it. Maybe he'll use his negate. Maybe he won't have anything else. Kind of want to rivulet him to see what's in his library to maybe help me make better sideboarding decisions, but yeah. Don't really have much into sideboard options anyway. So he does have Gear Hulks, so that definitely locks the game. Brought in Vraska's Contempt as well. Looking to see if we see a Lost Legacy. Mainly what we're doing here. You know, like, disallow this? Sure. So that means he has to have a counterspell in his hand. So he didn't want me to see any more of his library. He's got Confiscation Coup and he's got Vraska's Contempt, which is kind of interesting. I don't think I actually want these versus him then. I think we're just going to make the assumption he doesn't have Lost Legacy and go with it. He's got Vraska's Contempt, but the Fumigates are pretty bad anyway. I just want to get something that I can potentially cast early to pressure his life or like make him make bad mana decisions. This hand's a keep. It's not great. can cycle the sensor to try to find another land. We already have double white for this, which is fine, and we have basically all of our counter spells. Could even censor a turn 2 play if he has it. I don't actually want to try to play the Gideon here. A, he can counterspell and just untap and play a powerful enchantment. But B, I kind of want a Supreme Will looking for a land. Huh. Do I want to counterspell that? Probably not. Alright, well, we'll take the land. It's kind of a problem because now he can just resolve a thing. And as stated before, those things are all that really matters. Hey, Cerex. What's up, man? How are you doing today? You're having a good, wonderful day. Yeah, they often sideboard Ender 2 drops, but it's typically on the play. It's kind of odd that he's doing it on the draw. But he didn't see any removal spells. I probably wouldn't have done it on the draw, but on the play makes some sense. Interesting to see if he counterspells this or not. I tend to not like counterspelling these type of cards, and this one's a lot less powerful than a Glimmer. Okay. Could have just wanted to put in a gate in his graveyard for a Torrential Gearhulk as well. Untap land. Let's do it. Let's do it, team. That's not an untap land at all. I guess if he's going to counterspell mine, I'm going to counterspell his. Is that the game we're playing? His is a lot more powerful than mine. We're pretty far behind on cards. I don't know if I actually want to counterspell that one. Whatever. We're kind of far behind on cards, so I'm fine with it. Just going to untap and play the game-winning card, probably. Yep. It's probably going to win the game. As we still missed our land drop. I saw a cast out in our top 20 cards either. You didn't have another counter spell for that? It's kind of awkward. Alright, maybe we have a chance. Can't use that unless you have a bunch of artifacts, right? Yeah, 6 or more artifacts. Don't actually care about our life total at all. I think I'm actually going to... I should have glimmered... I should have tapped the plains, and I should have glimmered at a different time. Yeah, that was just two big play mistakes by me. RIP. I am terrible at Magic sometimes, friends. I was just playing too fast and not thinking it out. You got that end of turninitis, as they say, where you just like want to play that spell at the end of your turn, even though you shouldn't. It's kind of what was going on there. So this is the fourth card we've drawn since we played it. I'm going to go ahead and play this while he doesn't have Torrential Gearhulk mana up. Bottom was kind of an option, but I'm worried about this card actually just beating us. I'm pretty afraid of actually the summonings. I figure if he played that Counterspell War earlier, that he very likely has an answer to our first approach. And I'm assuming that our first approach is just going to get counterspelled anyway, so I'm thinking this game's going to go rather long, and the Metallurgic Summonings can just win games like that if they do go long. I guess if he's using that, I'll cast this. Should put the top card of our library as being an approach. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're missing a land, unfortunately. Which means he gets to take the Fumigate now, but... we're going to wait for that land before we actually try to resolve the approach. Well, I guess we're not going to wait for that land. We're probably just going to slam the approach next turn. Nah, we're probably not. We're probably just going to cast a Fumigate or something. Probably going to make him have it. I like trying to make him have it here. Like, he'd already played 2 negates. The odds of him having a third negate wasn't real high. If your opponent's going to have 3 negates in their top 22 cards, it's going to be real hard to win. I really don't want to cast a Settled Wreckage if I don't have to. I don't want to give them more lands. Why did he leave 1 back? We're tapped out. What does leaving 1 back at all do? I just didn't think this card was going to resolve. Leaving 1 back there feels like it does literal nothing. We drew 3 negates and about that many cards as well, by the way. Not looking great for us because he's probably got another counterspell at this point. We really need to draw an additional draw too. Draw a couple. Nah, we're just going to lose. He's playing multiple summonings. He's definitely set up for the control mirror, and we're not. It's the first time I've been paired versus a blue-black deck in literal months, though, so that's one of the reasons we've shaved so much of our sideboard for it. Guess I don't want to take this damage. He knows we have this anyway, so he would just play around it. He doesn't know we have these two. Really need to draw Search for Azcanta to try to win this game. before he gets a Glimmer. Yeah, maybe he'll resolve. That is our most important and powerful card. Yep. Feel like if he paused that long, he doesn't have another counterspell. It's a nice time to draw the Duress. Maybe he does have a counterspell if he took it like that. Well, let's see if we can find one. And he did have one. We have one chance to hit a negate. Didn't get there. Good game. I think opponent drew well above average, but I also think we drew well above average. Our hand's just not set up to fight these type of mirrors. We went deeper in our deck than him and probably have as many counter spells. It's one of the reasons I don't like only playing 3 approaches, by the way. You often have games where you see more than half your deck and you see 1 to 0 approaches in it. I feel like I always want to draw 2 approaches. I don't, over the course of any game that I see like 30 cards, which is why I really want the second one in the deck. Like I said, not particularly set up for that match anyway. As you can see by our sideboard, like, beating control is the last thing on our mind. Especially beating control with metallurgic summonings, or however you pronounce it. We're basically, with this build, just trying to beat Teamer and just trying to beat Red. Which is one reason that we're not maxed out on 4 Glimmers and we don't have more searches, because Glimmers are bad versus both Teamer and Red, and like searches are bad versus Red. This build of the deck's certainly not optimal. It's just trying to pick on a certain hole on MTGO, or what I think is a hole on MTGO at the moment. You seem to belong to that. Monday morning after the holidays, I guess everybody's sluggish and or not moving. We got game 1 pretty easily though, which is one of the nice things about the control decks. You generally always win game 1. I think if I was updating this deck for an open meta, I would probably get rid of the Field of Runes. I would probably go down to a 25th to land. I'd probably work some ops into it. And up to at least a 3rd search for Azcanta. There was a build on that. Well, I was going to pull it up, but there was a build from a recent Star City Games event that I would use as a starting point. Because I think he hits a lot of the correct points of the deck. I think we'll keep this hand. It's pretty bad, but being able to have 2 cast outs we cycle versus everything but the non-aggro decks is probably fun. Like, you have so much time versus every deck that isn't, you know, the green-white deck, the red deck, or the mono-red decks. And you're, like, not really in great shape to beat those decks anyway. Well, it's our worst match, probably. If he is the red deck, it's nearly unwinnable pre-board. And you're still a significant underdog post-board, even with all 11 cards we bring in. We literally have 11 sideboard cards in this match, and we are not a favorite post-board. Shows why I don't really like this deck at the moment. I'm going to keep that cast out. Yeah, he could be the bigger red deck. The bigger red deck we are a favorite versus. I'm only talking about the red deck wins build, you know, with the 8/1 drops and the Earth Shakers and the Haste Creatures. That's the one that we're not a favorite versus. We're fine versus like the Ben Stark Desert Red. I kind of want to counterspell that, but I'm not going to. Just going to save our Supreme Will for a better card. Actually going to Supreme Will for a land. Well, didn't hit the land we want, but we did hit a land. It got second at Grand Prix Atlanta. They play like Sand Strangler's main deck. Desert of the Dunes. Ben Stark made it. Or Dunes of the Dead, I guess is what it's called. They play some Scavenging Grounds. They play a couple of Glory Bringers and Chandras and stuff main. But overall, they're just a slower deck. They don't max out on aggression. They max out on trying to get 2-for-1 cards. They claim it's better versus Teamer. Alright, well, we're wrong. This guy is just an aggro deck, if he's got that card. Pretty sure I'm just going to take the damage. Untap and Fumigate. We have a cast out if he follows up with a Chandra. Hazoret wouldn't be able to attack. It's one of the only ways to get value out of a Fumigate. Fumigates actually aren't particularly good in this matchup. He could still be the Desert Red deck, I guess. Maybe put like one of those in or something. Desert Red deck runs 3 of these main deck. Have to get rid of this at some point because whenever we do cast an approach, we want to gain the 7 life. It's looking more and more like he's just a normal red deck that kept a super awkward draw. Maybe he's just got like a ton of burn spells or something. Agreed. Based on his first turns, I just thought he was playing that other deck. That other deck, I'll try to pull up the deck list that I'm talking about, so like if I keep referencing it, people know what I'm talking about. Because they just may not know what I'm talking about. The website doesn't seem to want to work. File not found when trying to go to channelfireball.com. Alright, well it looks like I can't pull it up. May have it over here. Don't know if I have it. Here we go. So like it doesn't actually have a lot of 2-drops, and it's only got the 7 1-drops, so I was thinking it might be this deck. But then he played the Crasher. Maybe it's just like an updated build of this deck. It's kind of interesting that Channel Fireball's website's not loading for me on quote-unquote Cyber Monday. I think I'll cycle one of these. Really want to hit the land. We have 2 answers. We technically have 3 answers. They don't even have 2 cards in hand. I'm just playing these turns rather slow, though. Spring Will's a great draw there. This is a friendly league. I don't think this deck's well positioned at the moment, so I don't really want to play competitive leagues with it. But B, I was just trying to show my cousin this deck, and so I signed up for just a random league. I wasn't really going to be paying much attention to it, and then he left about, I don't know, 2 turns into the game that I turned the stream on. Well, I thought I turned the stream on. I messed up. We've been playing competitive leagues with most of our videos this week, though. When we were testing the teamer deck. But this league is not a competitive. Our opponent has 6 damage there, so we gotta make something happen. I guess we'll take this. We can cycle it. Really just need to find that approach. So again, we're looking at one of the reasons that I don't like playing less than 4 approaches in these decks, because we're now, 21 cards deep. We're prepared to win the game. But if we never get the approach on time, we never get the approach on time. We will be using the Filter Runes as soon as he taps the Ramunap Runes, by the way. Which is one of the nice benefits. This board state actually doesn't happen a particularly large amount, but it is one of the nice board state, or one of the nice things that you can do with the card. We're kind of glad we did. We'd be at a theoretical 4 right now. We have to disallow too. Yeah, I know mathematically we should have drawn one, but I like that number to be a lot higher. We'd actually saw 21 cards because we'd scryed 2 to the bottom. But yeah, in general, I just like that number to be a lot higher. But that's just one of the reasons. The main reason I want it is because I feel like I want to draw 2 in so many games. And I'm just holding this card forever. It's like a get out of jail free card for whenever we do use the disallow. Earthshaker Kinra. Looks like we've got something to use a cast out on. I mean, we've played several hundred matches with this deck, and I've always had more success with 4 than 3. Could have a removal spell to just put that in his graveyard. If so, we may have to use the disallow trigger on it at some point. If I did that during his attack step, it'd be a lot better for me. But, unfortunately, I didn't do it during his attack step because I'm a bad player and I wanted to press F6. And now we're Hellbent. I have an answer to Hazoret now, so at least that's good. Do not have an answer to Chandra, though. I probably wouldn't even attack with Hazoret if I was him. I don't know, I guess it depends on how bad his hand is. I wonder if I can trick him into attacking with it by using that for Meltdown. Well, if he's attacking with it, I'm certainly using this. Hey, Dave C. with that fatty auto host. Thank you, man. Hope your world's testing's going well. Bottom. Hey, we found one. So we need to dodge Dino for a turn, or if he draws Dino, we need to... Huh. Guess we just take 2 here? Eh. Drew the disallows the reason I went ahead and did this to save 1 point of damage. I probably should have just saved that, though, to cast after the approach. We had to rival it already, though. Okay, never mind. We're going to win this game now. We drew 2. It was card 30 and card 31, but we drew 2. Let's take it. Don't care what he does. I've already pressed F6. He's not doing 16 damage to us with those amount of cards. We're just going to untap and play approach, and we're going to get lucky that we broke serve in game 1. Wow, he didn't have another card to play? It's kind of interesting. He drew 2 cards and they're still blanks when he's got, 12 lands in play and 1 in his graveyard. I guess he's got 2 in his graveyard. Alright, well, all our white cards come in and most of our blue cards go out. Goodbye Search for Ascanthus, goodbye Counter Spells, goodbye Glimmers. So then that leaves us with this. Basically things that cycle or things that deal with creatures. I don't know which one of these 2 are better. I guess technically Censor's a little bit better. Basically, we become a white, try to gain life, and Wrath of God every turn deck. I don't think I actually want to keep this hand. I think it's a little too slow. If we had the blue mana, I definitely would probably keep. Could cut a land on the draw, especially. That's a reasonable statement. Alright, this hand's fine. Could definitely cut a land on the draw. Sorry, there's some kind of delay, so I didn't even see the suggestion until it was way too late. Wonder what land we'd cut. Probably a rivulet. Just scried that to the bottom, by the way. Certainly going to cycle one of these sensors, I think. Well, never mind. If he's not casting a 2-drop, I'm not cycling a sensor because these sensors are very likely just going to be hard counter spells this game. So opponent had another kind of weird hand. No 2-drop, no 1-drop. It's just odd. That's a good one. That is also a good one. Probably just take this damage. Try to fumigate on the following turn. That leaves us with a set on our hand to try to mess with any like Hazard he has. So the only card like we're super afraid of right now is we don't want him to have Chandra. And Glorybringer's a card. I'd rather get this online and just use an Effort Meltdown there. I think this protects us from more things. If I just tap out for Fumigate, I'm not real pleased about that. So we've looked reasonably well this game. Red Rover, send us on over. No Chandras and Hazarats. We can beat a Hazarat if it attacks, though. Regal Kitty Cat. Meow meow. Alright. We can just block it if we want, or we can take it depending on what he does. I know he's got a Glorybringer, but the Regal Caracol buys a decent amount of time either way. And I want to get the Regal Caracol on the board before he draws like a Dino, because I don't want to have to take a turn to Fumigate off beforehand. So he can like exert and kill one half of the cat and I can still block the other half thing. Might even play the Sunscourge champion next turn. That way we can try to kill this on the following turn. Might not be worth it though. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Kinda like just throwing this stuff away to gain life. So he'll exert this turn, and then he'll kill it on the following turn. That's kind of disappointing, so we're going to take a fairly large amount of damage then. Uh-oh. That's game, probably, folks, so let's redraw quick. Alright, so what do we do now? Huh. Kinda want to bring this back and use this, but if I use this beforehand, it gives him an opportunity to use this. So I guess we have to discard the Fumigate? That's what I wanted to do, but I'm afraid that if I do that, he'll exile our graveyard in response or something. I don't want to give him a tree, or I don't want to give him even a chance to exile our graveyard like that. He probably wouldn't have, considering he already didn't. But, like, I didn't even want to give him the chance to. And then exert us down to 6. Really need to draw our thing very quickly. We do have another Sunscourge champion in our deck, so I guess we'll hold that one. We can attack because the thing's exerted. And that's a problem. That's a solution. It's not a permanent solution, but it gives us some time. He's only got 7 in play at the moment. Can always just draw another. Of course, he can just draw a burn spell too. That would also do it. Oh gosh. Alright, well that's game unless we hit. We didn't hit. That's game. Just didn't draw our approach quick enough. We were ahead for several turns, but it didn't matter. If we'd had that Fumigate, we'd still have a chance here, but like discarding that card felt real bad, but I think he has to attack, right? Yeah, we're dead. He attacked. We got close. We would have milled 4 cards. And we'd have drawn a card for our turn. And then it would have been the next card. But, oh well. So, moving into the next game, maybe we can cut 1 land? Yeah, I don't mind a 26th land on the play, I guess. I think I'll keep it on the play. On the draws when I kind of don't want it. Just going to run this back. And hopefully to get roughly the same draw. I don't think I made perfect decisions through that game either. I think that game was winnable if I'd played better. This hand's awkward, but it's a keep. Not really going to mulligan many hands that have a turn 1 or 2 authority to spot what the other cards are. I'm pretty sure once I saw these 2 cards that these 5 could be lands and I would have kept. Turns out they're actually decent cards, it's just this and this is kind of weird. No Beaumont, please. Yep. There's a Beaumont. We asked for no Beaumont. This is actually the hardest card out of their deck for us to beat. We beat Hazards and stuff easier than we beat Beaumonts. The card advantage off Beaumont's just so huge, though. Oh, and he's got 2. Really going to need to see a turn 4 settle to wreckage this game, I think. Don't really want to cycle that cast out. May have to. Probably not going to, though. Between dinos and hazards and stuff like that, I think it's just too good to cycle. Well, we have our lands and we have an approach. We just have to get like a fumigate or something. Might have to hit multiple somethings at this point. Kind of interesting. Actually did play around settle this time. He's not played around settle on many of his other attacks. Alright, well, we're going to play Kitty Scratch Fever. Tears down a lot of his potential blocks here. And actually, we can get some life gain going when we can start attacking with them because of the Effort Meltdown. And he can't Glorybringer at this turn. Opponent has best card. That's the usual for us. We're not dead, though. We have outs. We're certainly really far behind now, though. And that was quite literally the best draw step possible, I think. Because now our cat's not going to be able to block, and he's going to be able to attack for millions. He chose not to attack for millions. That's interesting. I think our best chance to win is probably just slam this. I know we don't gain the life, but we have a bunch of potential blockers and we can just draw a second approach. Like we're pretty far behind. I don't think we can wait till we can get rid of the Ferostodon. It's kind of an odd time to sack the Beaumont. If he'd planned on sacking it during my turn, he probably should have sacked it on his turn. So argument that he should have sacked both Beaumonts too if he was going to sack one and drew 5 cards? I don't know how good of an argument that is. I don't know how he sideboarded. Well, it doesn't change much. Cat was just going to block anyway. Guess maybe it can't block now if he's got another Earthshaker or something. Really want to draw that approach or one of our 4 Fumigate / free settles. One of our 7 rafts. Certainly going to block that one. This thing doesn't get to block next turn anyway. So that's 1 card. 2 cards. So now we just have to survive this turn. And he's going to be attacking for 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think we'll just pass. Yeah, well, we have a chance. I was wanting to play around a Lightning Strike here and a discard to Hazoret, which is why we chose to not cycle the Censor, but he had to land, so we can't do that. Sure. Kind of interesting. What's the odds that he has a Lightning Strike? If we had better mana, we'd be able to cycle and try to hit our thing, but I guess we'll look for a cast out. Yeah, well, we have to take it. The one positive note is here we have a redraw to a disallow now. Oh, no, we don't. Yeah, we have a redraw to a disallow if he was to tap out for a cast out, I guess. Or if he was to tap out for a Lightning Strike. I don't think he has it. Gave him the opportunity to play it and he didn't. Alright. So we have to fade 3 cards being a Lightning Strike. Or he could draw like double shock as well. Alright, we got there. I don't think we have time to Gideon. If we Gideon and Emblem, all he has to do is send like 1 thing at the Gideon and 3 damage at us and we die. He can kill us at the same time. Like he can kill us at the same time. He doesn't have to Alpha Strike the Gideon or anything. Like our life becomes 0 and then the Gideon dies. All he has to do is split the damage. And if we tick it up, then he just has to attack us for 3. So like the Gideon doesn't even give us another turn. Alright, well, but we got there. He didn't hit the Lightning Strike, and that's what we needed. So we narrowly beat the red deck, even though we have 11 sideboard cards for it. It's ridiculous. Wait, I was wrong? I'm confused. What did I do that you thought was wrong? It didn't have to just be 3 cards though. Like he could have drew double shock, I guess. I mean, it was a low percentage. Obviously, we were the favorite, but. And he'd just drawn 3 cards already as well with the other Beaumont, so like it was reasonable that he'd drawn one that was still in his hand. This hand's a keep. have an early counterspell and something that's good versus like the red decks and Lone Tusk Cubs. Sensors being able to get 3 drops is pretty important in this format. Our opponent's currently 0-0. Does not say that we are currently 2-1 though. Oh! Oh my. So, they're GFG. Our game 1's pretty strong versus GFG, but we're missing a lot of our sideboard cards, again, because we're kind of sideboarding for a very specific meta, which we're not getting paired versus. Our hand's kind of bad versus GFG, though. He puts strategic planning and chart, of course. He's got all the juju. What do you got here? Another charter course? Don't think we'll counterspell that. Just save what counterspells we have for like turn 4 refurbish. Even if it makes him wait till turn 5, still pretty good for us. We will cycle it this turn because he can now play around it. Huh. I really want to play that. Guess he doesn't have any creatures in his graveyard yet. I just noticed we don't have a second white mana yet. Champion of the wits, baby. So I need to pop this off so I can actually keep an eye on what's going on graveyard-wise. Alright, he's got 1 champion of the wits in his graveyard. Man, they're not torture. I love them. But welcome back. Been a while since I saw you around. I do love the synergy of Effer Meltdown when he's buying back one of these. I love these matches. So what do we got here? Disallow in the graveyard? No, I guess we'll keep that one. Seems like the droid that we are looking for. At some point I might actually cycle this hieroglyphic illumination. What have you been into? Did you have a happy holidays if they celebrate holidays where you're from anyway? Disallow. Yeah, no, I mean, I rather enjoy them. I especially enjoy postboard, but that might be because I'm a massive favorite in the postboard match. Glimmer in the graveyard? No, I'll keep it too. So I'll probably be glimmering and using a meltdown on something now. Thank you. It was here as well. Do people do like the big family stuff where you're from? Why, yes. This is one of my favorite things. Get Effer Meltdown, Mr. Champion of Wits. This is one of my favorite things. So they draw 0 and they discard 2? Wait, why didn't they have to discard? Oh, because they said they can say no. It's a may. I keep forgetting that it's a may. My bad. In real life, every time I've done that, they've just discarded 2 cards. This is why I forget that it's a may. It's still one of my favorite plays, regardless. Anytime you can, like, use 2 mana to counter 7, it's pretty nice. But I just sounded real stupid on stream. What's new? What's new? Me sounding stupid. Fumigate in their graveyard? Nah, I'll keep it just in case. That's good. It's good that drama's low, Vent. That's always the best place for drama to be. Yeah, we're not looking great right now, though. He's tapping 5 mana, so that's kind of good, because that means it's probably an Angel and not a GFG or a Refurbish. He doesn't actually have a creature in his graveyard for a Refurbish, though. So now all we have to do is stall 6 turns. Because we're drawing a card for our first turn. Well, 6 maximum turns, I'll rephrase. So there's another kitty cat. I might have a settled wreckage here. Another fumigate. I guess we'll put that one in our graveyard. So we put a fumigate in our graveyard. Down to 5 cards, and then we drew for our turn 4 cards. So we basically just have to get until we untap, providing they have no counter spells in their deck. I guess we'll just pass. I don't think they can deal that much damage to us in a turn. And if somehow they can, we can do some cycles or something and look for a cast out. So, like, even with a God Pharaoh's Gift, I don't think I die here. Well, we'll double count to make sure. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 6 is not dead. is not dead. I don't have to count any larger than that, I guess. He doesn't have the mana for this right now. I think we're going to go ahead and draw our approach before he, like, untaps and plays a land or something insane. He's not attacking with this, so now he's going to play around, he's playing around Settle now. So these are just going to go bottom. So we can draw our approach. I guess he's... Oh, never mind. I thought he was conceding because it wasn't letting me spend my mana. Alright. If he has counter spells in his deck, that's disappointing. We can censor it, though, if he does. Unless, I guess he's got, like, double spell, or got, like, a spell pierce, double spell pierce or something. Yeah. Well, that match is pretty easy. Pre-board. It's a lot harder post-board. I like to bring all of these in versus it. And I typically like to take out a few cards, like a couple Fumigates. I don't think the Gideons are particularly good post-board. And I waffle on whether I like Effort Meltdown or not, because like the Meltdowns are so good versus the Champion of Wits, but it's not particularly good versus anything else. I don't know if I don't think I actually won all 4 of those. Not sideboard it with this build of the deck versus their build of that deck. Nah, we have double blue spells. Yeah, man, a lot of people are not happy that approach is a thing. I think approach is fine. Like, if it was overpowering, that'd be one thing. I guess it kind of sucks that there's like no real counterplay to it, but it's just not that oppressive. Never doing anything but cycling a sensor really in this match anyway. I probably don't need the meltdowns. I probably could just bring in another authority and another sensor, but authorities are pretty good about making his things not have haste. And this hand's, you know, pretty close to everything we want. Opponent mulliganed to 6, and he put on top, so probably gets to play. So we're currently trying to earn a pity chest. We're 2-1 at the moment. I think there was a time in this format before people adapted to this that it was that bad. But like, once people acknowledged that this was a deck, it just kind of died. A lot kind of like Dredge. Dredge in Legacy dominates Legacy when people forget that it's a deck. Or sorry, Vintage rather. Not Legacy. Vintage is just all the time fine. Or sorry, in Legacy, people just have the graveyard hate to be having it. He's not milling himself. That's pretty odd. I don't know if I've ever been turn 3 attacked with a Minister. I think we're going to keep our 2 hieroglyphics. Man. Alright, whatever. I'm casting it. It's too good not to cast. I know we have a bunch of counter spells, but it's too good not to cast. It's the best card in our deck. It's probably the only reason I really still love Approach. I'm absolutely obsessed with Search for Azcanta. I think the card is so good. So what do we got going on over there? Probably a Champion of Wits. It is a Champion of Wits. I think I'm going to cycle one of these just because we don't have our land drop for the next turn. And I can press F6 if I do such. Hey, friend, how are you? Friendo Approachero. He'll probably mill himself with this one. Yeah, you do. It's fun, though. I love watching VSL. I'll rephrase. I love watching VSL when they're playing the competitive decks versus the competitive decks. Don't like it as much when they're like brewing. I guess it depends on who's doing commentary as well. I listen to Paul Rietzel say anything he wants at any time he wants. That man is a genius. Sweet, we hit our land. Happy days. So they have an Angel of Sanctions in their graveyard now. And that's about it. They got a Champion of Wits. I mean, they won't ever ban it, I don't think. They'd have to print some very quality blue cards for it to even be considered bannable. Alright, I guess they can keep having all this stuff. I'd rather play my Illumination than worry about that. Even though that card's as good as Illumination. What's this one? Alright. That means I get to do this now. I really want to find more lands. I would consider counterspelling that if I had lands. I really want to lack him. Like, I really, really want to lack him. But it's hard for me to forgive people who have been DQ'd for certain things. I really, really want to lack that guy. I think we'll keep that. We'll go ahead and play it this turn because it lets us be able to double counterspell, which is why we kept it. Probably actually cycle to farmland if we don't have to double counterspell. I like his attitude a lot. I like Randy a lot too, even though Randy catches a lot of flack. Alright, I think we have to counterspell that. Puts too much power on the board right now. Do your worst. I want to press F6. What do we got? A Glacial Fortress? Definitely. Like, I can forgive the history when I see people be apologetic or like something, but I've never heard him do anything but deny it. And I'm not saying that he hasn't been apologetic. I'm just saying I've not heard it. Like, for example, like I don't hold anything against Sato. He made some mistakes, but like he apologized. He's very remorseful, and he's going well out of his way to try to help his local community. So, like, I can forgive. It's just how, you know? I don't feel like I'm going to do very well this game. Pretty sure I'm just going to untap and slam approach, and it's probably going to kill me. Especially when they have an Angel of Sync. I don't know. I'm just going to untap and slam approach, I think. I could use Field of Runes to put a card in my graveyard, guaranteed. But I don't think I want to. I don't think I'm not flipping to Search for Azcanta this turn regardless. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Yeah, we're not flipping to Search for Azcanta this turn regardless, so. And the reason we're not flipping it this turn is because we know we're going to tap out, so we might as well get one extra mill out of it. Put a little 7 there so I don't forget my place. And next turn we're probably going to cast a Fumigate, hopefully with double counterspell. Could just be single counterspell. Could be even worse than that. So that's something we were considering when we made this play. That's what I was counting. I was trying to decide that if he like hit a land, I was counting to see that had he had a counterspell for the approach and hit a land and like got to play this and attack with this, if I would have died. because he would have got to deal like an extra 4 damage. But I was going to be safe either way. So we know we're going to spend 5 mana at the very minimum. I don't think I'm going to put that in my graveyard. Actually, I think I'm going to keep it. I do think I'm going to flip that though. There's a good argument for me not flipping it there. I didn't want to I guess I should have flipped it, or shouldn't have flipped it. I don't like to watch, I don't know. But Paul Rietzel's my favorite. So Red Rover. Can we just untap and hit an approach and let this be over? He's going to be hard pressed to win from here. Oh. Yep. He's going to be hard pressed to win from here. Sometimes you just run hot. And approach some second sons. Alright. He done the Grand Prix coverage, and I was so impressed. For like that being the first time he's ever did Grand Prix coverage, I was just like, oh my god, this guy's better than everybody. But anyway, I guess I've not spammed for a while. If you guys like what you're watching and you're new here, make sure to click that follow button and to click the links down below to follow my Twitter and see every time I go live. And my YouTube channel to see the majority of our past broadcasts. If you do happen to be watching this video on the YouTube channel, keep in mind in the description below the video you can follow links to both the Twitter chat, or the Twitter, my Twitter I guess, and the Twitch channel, and all the deck lists are there that we play for that, or the deck lists for that given event. God, man, I just can't spam things out. Anyway, so we're currently 3-1. We locked up a random pity chest, trying to gather a few more. We're on the draw. We kind of played this deck because we were wanting to get paired versus teamer. We've not got paired versus teamer. I'm going to keep this hand. It's pretty medium. We need to draw a lot of lands, but they've already mulliganed, and we already have at least one potential scry. And Gideon actually does a lot of work versus a lot of decks. So opponents going down to 5 cards, opponents going down to 4 cards. They kept their hand. And they put on top of the library though, so they will get to play. We actually have a pretty mediocre hand. Like, a lot of decks can just beat us on 4 cards if we don't hit our lands. Like, instantly hit a land. We do our little happy dance. Oops, oops, oops. That's the noise I make when I'm doing my happy dance. Like, Palmer could beat us on this amount of cards if he draws right. Probably be hard if we draw, like, a Glacial Fortress. Or an island, I guess. Servant a Conduit. Not super worried about losing this game anymore. Long Tusk Cabarini. So we'll play that. Would like to see enough of his deck to see whether he's a red-green pummeler deck or a teamer deck before he concedes. May not concede too. He may just have the heart of the lion. Heart of the tiger. Show us 1 card too many, please. That doesn't narrow anything down. Felt like he had a play there and he intentionally didn't play it. So maybe he's doing the same thing to us. To try so hard to get past this little Gideon. This little Gideon who could. Little Gideon, you can do things, my friend. Little Gideon, you're doing things, my friend. Alright, Teamer. Show us. Red Rover, do you have a black mana in your deck? Yeah. Let's cycle this, I guess. We don't have an additional land, or we don't have the 7th land yet. Alright, we have the 7th land now. Alright. So game 1's going to be trivial, but he did mulligan to 4. Honestly, the game plays out pretty close to like this anyway. We just have to cast a Fumigate on like one of these random turns normally. I will protect you, Gideon. We do not want you to die. He could have counterspells in his main deck too. Some of them have Supreme Will. The majority of them don't, but some of them do. We know we're tapping out next turn anyway, and the turn after that, so might as well counterspell it to try to save the Gideon. In case he did have like a counterspell for the second approach, and that we had to play longer. Alright. He does not, so that was kind of paint by numbers, but like I said, you know, he mulliganed to 4. If he doesn't have counterspells and he doesn't at some point just casting this Fumigate pretty much keeps that same result going, especially when we have the double. Alright, so sideboarding versus them is a little tricky. I think all of these cards are reasonable. The problem with sideboarding any of these cards is I actually think every card in our deck's reasonable. I have no idea what to cut. The other approach streamer, Trampoline Tails, often cuts some glimmers here, which I think's okay, but the more and more counterspells they get, the more and more I feel like I need one of these, but we're usually having to cast one of these cards on 4 anyway, which is one of the reasons it's okay to cut a couple of these. And I personally think the Supreme Wills are a little too much. The disallows are a little too much. Generally, a Supreme Will can counterspell anything that a disallow can in this match, while also being an impulse in those situations that you need it. And I don't think you ever want all of the negates in. I think sometimes you want some of the negates in, but I don't think you ever want all of the negates in. Now, beyond that, I actually don't really know what to cut. Like, the Regal Caracols really aren't that great. The cast-outs really aren't that great. The Supreme Wills really aren't that great. Like, they're all medium cards, but like none of them are backbreakingly great. Need to see somebody who's wrote an article on this deck instead of just my hodgepodge. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take that out. Ooh, I'll take this out. So we need to draw another white mana, but this hand's fine. We got one of our more important cards in the match because, like, shutting down an early Lone Tusk Cub's one of your keys to victory. Not getting Chandra Ultimate is one of your keys to victory too, so cast-outs are pretty bad versus anything but just Chandra, which is why we don't really want the full 4 in. Opponent has an interesting draw, to say the least. A second kitty. That's always fun. Meow meow. Wish I was good enough to play Vintage and stuff. I saw that Budakov won both the Commander and the Vintage Challenge this weekend. I was just like, wow. That dude is so good at Magic. Alright, so opponent's done. He doesn't want to play anymore. He had 3 lands. He didn't mulligan. He just doesn't want to play anymore. Alright. Well, There we go. 4-1. Sorry that we only streamed 4 rounds because I'm dumb and one of the 4 rounds that we did stream wasn't worth watching. I have to apologize for that. Anyway, this build of deck's not particularly good. I didn't even mean to load it. I was going to load one of my older builds of the deck. This was kind of an experiment. I meant to load this build of the deck, which also isn't that great. It's got a little bit more early game. It's got the 3rd Search for Azcanta. But going forward with this deck, I kind of want to take... let me pull up his list real quick. This guy. And this guy is a streamer. I believe this is him. Is a streamer on MTGO. I believe his name is... I believe his name's Trampoline Tales, but I kind of want to work on something more like this. I want a more versatile sideboard than what we got. I'm willing just to lose to the red decks. I don't really want this card, but something like that. There's this guy's list down here too that I really think is something to start with. Like if I was going to play this deck in the next league, I would probably start with this list, except I would add a couple more rivulets over islands. As you saw, we didn't take 1 point of, or there was only 1 point of damage in the entire league that we were going to take from a rivulet, and I think that they actually give you some pretty reasonable things. I would also like to have the 4th cast out in the main deck, and a 3rd Search for Azcanta in the main deck. So I probably would cut some islands here, put some rivulets in here, slash this Slash of Talons completely for a Search for Azcanta, and probably cut this Essence Scatter for a 4th cast out, and then probably retool the entire sideboard, because he's doing a lot like what we're doing for the sideboard. He's got 7-8 cards when you include the Slash of Talons, so like he's really scared of the red decks, and I'm not a big fan of Torrential Gearhulk in this sideboard right now. The reason I'm not a big fan of Torrential Gearhulk is because all of the teamer decks that splash black, that have access to Scarab, you just don't want Gearhulk versus them, because at any point that they can kill a Gearhulk and like resolve a Scarab Gout at some point in the game, which happens pretty often especially when they're bringing in, 4 and 5 counter spells to some of their own Gearhulks, it turns all of your Gearhulks into extra negates for them. And I just don't think you need this card to beat those matches. It's also really bad versus Sultai Energy. It's really bad versus, again, like you can't bring it in versus blue-black because they're always going to resolve a Scarab God at some point, and then every Gearhulk you've resolved the entire game becomes another negate for them. And I think it's a little slow for the red decks, but so I don't know if I want any Torrential Gearhulks at all. I'm thinking about, for matches like that, like potentially Glyph Keeper. Because I don't really care if they like get a threat and attack me with it. Our entire deck's designed to not die to threats. I'm a little worried about them getting a threat that counterspells something. And that's also one of the reasons that I've tended to stay away from Kefnet. Because, like, they typically don't sideboard out their Essence Scatters and stuff. They still have Disallows and stuff. So, like, it's pretty easy for them to get a Kefnet in your graveyard. And sometimes when it resolves, it just eats a Veraska or something like that anyway. It often doesn't net you a bunch of cards. Now, it is absolutely amazing in a mirror match, but I'm not going to... Blue-White Approach is not popular enough for me to care about putting cards in that I specifically want just for the mirror match. That's the same thing with Torrential Gearhulk. Now, if I'm getting paired versus a bunch of mirrors, I may retool that opinion, but as of right now, I don't want that opinion. But if I was going to play Approach again tomorrow, this is the list that I'll probably start with and make the changes that I just said. Could also, like, potentially just play Vizier. Like, this card does some things. Angel of Sanctions does some things. It's just kind of like a different sideboard. But anyway, so that's going to do it for us tonight. I appreciate you guys coming out. Sorry that the stream was kind of mediocre. We did stream for at least 2 hours though, I think. Nope, hour and 45 minutes. I'm wrong. But let's see who we can stream. It looks like Geo's still streaming, so we'll throw Geo some support. He's a frequenter of the channel. He plays a lot of random decks. He's currently playing a Akecha Monument aggro deck, which actually looks pretty cool and I actually think would be pretty good right now. But go give this guy, he's just recently started streaming and he's doing a wonderful job. Like, I'm actually kind of jealous of him. I think he's doing a better job than I do. Yet I've been doing this for like 3.5 months and he's doing this for a couple of weeks or whatever. But anyway, take care, everybody. I'll try my best to be back Tuesday as always, and thank you for watching.